You ready for me?
Yep.
All right. It is 6:02. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And the first item is, are there any public comments?
There are no public comments. Actually, Natalie, the first item is to amend the agenda.
Okay.
Prior to public comments up there. The rationale there is we need to amend the agenda to include 5C revised BG3. What happened is we received a revised BG3 for the turf fields project that shows a lower by about $200,000, a lower cost for the district, and a procedural thing, we have to revise that. And since it came in today and we were having a board meeting today, we figured we would ask you all to revise the agenda to include this in there. So the recommended motion is to approve the amendment of the agenda to include item 5C revised BG3.
Okay, you've heard the superintendent's recommended motion to amend the agenda. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
Larry?
Second.
Is there any
Melinda?
discussion? All right. I think last time we did roll call only when people dropped off. Can we just do verbal?
Sure. Fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Before we vote, I have a question. Was that already added to the agenda under consent? I thought I read it under consent.
No, it was not. This was a new piece that we had. It just came in about 2 hours ago, actually.
Go ahead and vote.
Okay. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All right. No opposition. Motion passes. All right. So now on to our new business.
Public comments. So we don't have any public comments right now, but what we do want to remind everyone who's watching this on YouTube is if you want to have public comments during one of these virtual meetings, we post a link on our website, and we'll also submit that via social media. And all you have to do is click on that link, and then we can get you signed up, and we can read your comment. And that's in this virtual world, that's about as good as we can do right now on that. And we'll continue to look at other ways, to get that.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Moving on to new business. The first item is Fidelity Bond of Treasurer.
Fidelity bond requirements are summarized in KRS 160.560 and KAR 3080. Accordingly, by July 1st of each year, the treasurer and other employees responsible for Board of Education funds shall execute an official bond for the faithful performance of the duties of his or her office to be approved by the local board and the Commissioner of Education. The Fidelity bond for federal year 21 is attached for your review and approval. The recommended motion is to approve the federal year 21 Fidelity bond of treasurer.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. The next item is fiscal year 21 tentative budget.
There are 3 steps in the budget process. There's the draft budget, the tentative budget, and then the working budget. The working budget we'll get to in September. We did the draft budget a few months back, and now we're at the tentative budget stage. So the federal year 21 tentative budget is attached for your review and approval. I'm going to go through a presentation. Can we go ahead and open up the PowerPoint there? I'll be fairly brief through this because, just to be honest, there haven't been a whole lot of significant changes from the draft budget to the tentative budget. We're trying to be as conservative as we possibly can in these trying times in making budget recommendations and looking at potential loss of revenue and things like that. So are we able to pull that up? Can you all see the PowerPoint of the budget? I can't on my screen.
I can't either.
No.
Nope, I just still see the agenda. I can go ahead and take a motion in a second, and then you can get into the
Okay, sure.
presentation. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now,
And while she's trying to pull that up on the presentation screen, I can actually, if you pull it up, it's one of the attachments. I can read through until it is visible on the screen. The tentative budget, it kind of flickered there for a second. You almost got it.
Here's the, can you see this attachment?
I see you moving on the attachments over there, but nothing's coming up. So the tentative is due in May, and that's where we are right now. And if you're looking in your presentation that is attached on slide 3 is where I'm starting there. Each Board of Education is required to approve a tentative budget on or before May 30th. This is the second formal step. In terms of general fund receipts, on slide 4, general fund, the revenue is expected to be a little over $72,600,000. And this includes about $15,100,000 or $200,000, close to that, for on behalf payments made by the state. This is a bit of a decrease. We're conservatively, like I said earlier, projecting that we'll have a decrease in revenue. And a part of that is due to, obviously, our salaries go up every year, as well as, we're being conservative with our tax estimates. Just because of all this that's going on, we're trying to be as conservative as we possibly can. Going over to slide 5 that talks about some other fund sources, including our food service fund, our after-school program fund, and our special revenues fund, the revenues that come in from those programs. Slide 6 talks about, we get into what our expenses are projected to be. And when we looked at Fund 400, our debt service payments, these are things that where we owe money on buildings that we have built and things like that, as well as our bus leases. Our KISTA payments are listed there, and our funds 310 and 320, which is makes the money available for when we do have future capital projects. When we move into slide 7, something that all boards are very curious to know, and actually I think you all asked this question at our last meeting. I think it was Chuck that asked the question, if I'm not mistaken. What are our personnel costs? Every district, you want to be somewhere between 75 and 80% of your overall budget should be geared towards personnel and towards salaries. And our personnel costs in this budget represent approximately 77% of the projected general fund expense. So we're right in that kind of that wheelhouse of where you want to be as a district. So that's good. And our projected expenditures from other funds that talks about on the next slide, food service, after school, and special revenue. Get down to the last slide in the tentative budget report. The total budget is our budgeted revenues and expenditures in terms of general and food service funds, excluding the contingency. When you think about then the budgeted reserve or that contingency, it's been determined accordingly. So the tentative budget right now, we have a projected reserve of $7,970,603 of the total budget. That represents 10%. You're required by the state to have a 2% contingency, and we have a very healthy 10% contingency. Even with conservative guesstimates in this budget, we're still able to maintain a 10% contingency, which then equates to approximately 6 weeks, a little bit more of operating expenses. Shane, is there anything that you want to add to that?
No, I think you did a good job. I don't have anything to add. Unless there are any questions.
Any questions that you all have for Shane or I?
I do like it where I do like it where that the for his salaries is at 77%. That's really healthy. In my opinion, I feel like really, really, really healthy. So I appreciate us making sure our budget is healthy, and I like the 10% as well.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no other discussion, all in favor of approving the tentative budget, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. The next item is the revised 2019-2020 board meeting schedule.
The revised board meeting schedule for this year is attached for your review. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, it's recommended that the May 18th and June 15th working board meetings be canceled. Those are the meetings that we generally have in schools, and if we're not going to be able to be in schools at that time, that was kind of what our thought processes were. We know we're probably going to have a special called meeting in one of those months, maybe both of those months. If that's the case, we can always do that. But just in terms of scheduling those for in the schools, this is why we recommended that change. So the recommended motion is to approve the revised 2019-2020 board meeting schedule.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I think it's a good idea to go ahead and make these changes now. All right, all in favor of the superintendent's recommendation indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, the next item is approved to 2020 and 2021 board meeting schedule.
The 2020-2021 board meeting schedule is attached for your approval. We can talk about it as I'll just say the recommended motion is to approve the 2020-2021 board meeting schedule as presented.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Justin.
Justin, okay. Any discussion?
So I would just say that it's generally pretty similar to everything that we've done the last few years in having the two meetings every month. Rebecca's done a really nice job in adapting the calendar to make it work so where we don't have too many meetings that come very close. Sometimes the schedule doesn't allow that to happen, like in October. The regular meeting is October 12th because of fall break, and then the working meeting is the following week. For the most part, they're usually 2 weeks apart. So I think it worked out pretty well.
There are a couple of months.
Oh, wait, Rebecca's adding one thing. What was that?
The speaker. There are a couple of months though, just so you all are aware that like the first of the Monday of the month was a week or more into it. So we decided to have the regular meeting on a Tuesday. So just note that with the asterisks on that schedule.
Okay. All right, are there any questions? All right, all in favor of approving the board meeting schedule for 2020-2021 indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item is revised 1920 calendar.
The Kentucky Department of Education did notify districts that NTI days can be used as 7-hour days. This enabled our district to recalculate the number of instructional hours provided to our students. As a result of this recalculation, Franklin County Schools will meet the 1,062 required hours of instructional time on May 12th, 2020. And a huge thanks, by the way, to Kyle Sexton for all of his work. I don't know how he does the math, to get this so accurate for us, and we sure appreciate that. And I think it's been well, I'll wait till the comments on that, but the 1920 revised calendar showing the last day for students is May 12th, 2020, and that is attached for your review and approval. The recommended motion is to approve the 1920 revised calendar as presented.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve. Is Kyle on there? He's a whole lot smarter than he looks.
Oh goodness, I got
I
choked up.
think that was a compliment, Larry. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I
Second.
second.
Okay.
Belinda.
Well, I
Belinda?
tell
Oh,
you,
okay.
My
So-
daughter is thrilled. I'm thrilled that it'll be over quicker. And I'm happy with what Greg Roush has done with Western Hills. I don't know the specifics about what the other principals have done, but I assume they've all done similar things to make things, stringent, but also relaxed for the kids.
Well, another big shout out to Charla and the instructional team for working with the principals. NTI was never meant to do what it has been doing, and it's been fantastic that we've been able to use it in this regard, but it has led to a significant amount of fatigue on the part of students, families, parents, as well as teachers. So being able to meet those instructional hours on May the 12th, I think has been a fantastic thing. So again, thank you to everyone involved for making that happen.
Any other comments?
Well,
All right.
again, Madam Chair, I would just like to say that I'm just amazed at our district. I guess I have to give Belinda, and I think Larry, you was on that board when y'all ordered all those computers and things for the kids. But
Yes.
folks, we are so advanced ahead, and I'm sure Mr. Cox maybe might say more about this. I won't take his thunder, I'm sure, but I'm just thankful that you all saw the money to buy those computers and where kids can use them at home. We're so advanced in some districts. So I like to say kudos to what the previous board has done and the superintendent, et cetera.
Yeah, and I had stated this before, and I was planning on stating it in the superintendent report, but I'll just say it now. Again, when I came into superintendent, you all as a board had already approved the One to World project, and it was fantastic leadership on your part to do that. It was a significant investment of resources and time and training, but Jimmy and all of our principals and our instructional folks here at Central Office, we've done a fantastic job of being prepared for this cataclysmic event. And the Wonder World project, I know it was extremely expensive, and I know it was a really difficult decision, but I can't thank you enough for having the foresight to do this and the courage. So thank you.
I think a lot of that should also go to former Superintendent Chrissy Jones. She really worked hard to get the funding together and pull that for the kids. So
100% agree. I mentioned her specifically on the last time I talked about it, and I'd be remiss not to say that again. Her and you all together, just fantastic leadership, and we are ahead of the curve. And in talking with other districts, we're well ahead of the curve because of that, that future forward thinking. So thank you all.
you're welcome.
All right. All in favor of approving the revised 2019-2020 calendar indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. The next item is amendments to the certified evaluation plan due to COVID-19.
We did make some amendments in accordance with Senate Bill 171 signed by Governor Beshear and the recommendations of KDE. The following amendments are attached and are submitted for your approval to be added to the 2019-2020 Certified Evaluation Plan. These amendments attached in the appendix of the current year plan will be in effect for this year only. Administrators agree these changes are fair solutions to the interruptions of the regular school year due to COVID-19. These changes have also been shared with the newly formed 50/50 committee for 2020 and 2021 for their review. The recommended motion is to approve amendments to the 2019-2020 Certified Evaluation Plan.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So
moved. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Belinda.
All right. Any questions or discussion?
Mr. Superintendent, can you explain, you might have before, what's the 50/50 committee, please?
Yeah, so it's a committee that's composed of 50% teachers and 50% administrators. Charlotte, would you like to jump in and talk about this real quick?
Sure. We will be submitting the 2021 certified eval plan, and KDE recommended that the local board is the one who needs to approve the amendments to this plan for this year. Our administrators believe that they could finish summatives with the amount of product evidence they had before we left, and they were going to work with their teachers Q through Z as identified in the plan to finish their summatives. But yes, Mr. Fletcher, we choose the 50-50 committee anytime there is an revision to be done to the certified eval plan, and we make sure that all of our different groups, our levels, our areas are represented by teachers and administrators.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All right. All in favor of approving the amendments to the certified evaluation plan due to COVID-19 indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item is the Code of Acceptable Behavior Handbook for 2020-2021.
The 2020-2021 Code of Acceptable Behavior Handbook is attached for your review and approval. The recommended motion is to approve the 2020-2021 Code of Acceptable Behavior Handbook as presented.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Give it to Larry.
Okay,
Larry.
so Larry approves. Chuck, you want a second?
I second.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions?
Well, I would just add real quick that Kyle, again, thank you for your work on this. I don't think that there are any significant changes. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
All right. All in favor of approving the Code of Acceptable Behavior Handbook for school year 2020-2021 indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. The next item is the first reading of the updated technology policy and procedures.
The first reading of policy 08.2323, procedures 08.2223 AP 111 and 08.2223 AP 21 are attached for your review and approval. These updates are recommended to adapt to current technology changes and in preparation for online registration. There is no need for a motion at this time as this is just the first reading.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to construction. The first item is Collins Lane Elementary pay application number 29.
Pay app number 29 in the amount of $387,681.75 for Collins Lane Elementary is attached for your review and approval. The recommended motion is to approve Collins Lane pay app number 29 in the amount of $387,681.75.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is this the last one?
It's really
That's what I
close.
was going to ask Natalie. How many more do we have to pay?
Yeah,
Beat you to it.
I've got John Fields on the call and Shane, and they can jump in on here, but we're really close. The only thing we're looking at now is there's some debate about some retainage with some subcontractors. John or Shane, is there anything else that you can add to that?
Well, this is Shane. I'll just say that we're in the process of reconciling the total payments to all vendors, and barring there are very, very small discrepancies, this will wrap it up otherwise.
Have they fulfilled all their duties to us? As far as finishing all those projects, that even the little things like the last minute painting and things like that, have they finished all that?
They have a couple more.
Oh, there
they
he
have
is.
a couple, this is John. They have a couple more items on the punch list. There are some holes. I did a walk around last week of the building. There are some small holes on the outside of the building that need to caulk. They are in there this week. They were in there last week redoing the ceiling in the foyer area where we had leaks from the roof. So hopefully they'll finish that up by the end of this week.
Good.
Any other questions? All right. All in favor of approving Collins Lane Elementary pay application number 29, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is train invoice 310-796656.
A train invoice in the amount of $155,873.78 is attached for your review and approval. The recommended motion is to approve the train invoice in the amount of $155,873.78.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All right. All in favor of approving the train invoice, indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. The next item is the superintendent's personnel actions, reports to the board.
Actually, it's the revised BG3. This is where
I'm
you
sorry.
amend the agenda. That's okay.
Sorry about that.
The cost estimates for the turf field project have been reduced by approximately $200,000. The revised BG3 reflects the new estimate. The recommended motion then is to approve the revised BG3 as presented.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve the revised BG3?
So moved.
Go ahead. Give it to Belinda.
Okay, and then Chuck on a second.
I second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Sounds good to me.
What's the total for this, both of those projects? Or
Sure. Yeah. So we're still in the estimating phase until the actual bids come in. And that's
okay. All right.
so, yeah. So it's the initial estimate when you count in contingency and putting all those things in, it was a little over $2.5 million. The revised estimate is now down to about $2.3 million. When it's all said and done, when the bids come in, we're hoping it's going to be right around that $2 million mark. So we're still hopeful of getting it down even further than that. Again, we're trying to be as conservative as we possibly can be in these estimates.
All right. All right. If there's no other discussion, all in favor of approving the revised BG3, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Now reports to the board. Superintendent's personnel actions.
Personnel actions taken since the last meeting of the board are presented for your information.
And the reports from school councils.
Draft minutes from the school site-based decision-making councils are presented for your review.
And the attendance report.
Kyle?
If you looked at your report, you will notice that we cannot pull report percentages at this point. Once we're closed for NTI, when we do our final end of the year SAR report, those days all transition to last year's average, which was 94.78, and that is the percentage that we will be able to implement for every day we're out for NTI.
All right, sounds good. The next item is the superintendent's report.
A few things I want to talk about. One is it is Teacher Appreciation Week, and if we're doing a lot of virtual things to appreciate and show our appreciation for our teachers and our staff for all the hard work that they do. Kristen has got a really neat project that she's working on right now that will be you'll be seeing a little bit more of later in the week. If you have an opportunity and you see a teacher or you see them on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, make sure that you give them a thank you. They've had a rough year and having to deal with everything that they've had to deal with, and we appreciate them every single day. So it's a good week to always reflect. The main thing I wanted to spend a few minutes talking to you about is graduation, because that's been everyone wants to know what are we going to do for graduation. And so we put together a graduation options committee that consists of about 50 members, and it includes students, teachers, administrators, parents, central office staff, what we tried to get a wide variety of folks on that committee so that we can make sure that we honor our seniors. And what we have come up with, and we have another meeting of our committee tomorrow, is, and I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Frankfurt Plant Board. They have been great in being willing to work with us to do part one of a two-step process for graduation. We wanted to offer both a virtual graduation ceremony as well as an in-person ceremony once we're able to do that. And the plant board has stepped up and agreed to donate all of their time and resources, frankly, to help us do the graduation for the virtual ceremony. So beginning next week, next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the 13th, 14th, and 15th, there are going to be two separate camera crews that are going to go, one to each high school. And the camera crew is literally, it's one person, because again, we're trying to keep under 10 people together. But how we're going to set it up is we're in the gym, I'm just use Western Hills for an example. There will be one person in there that will be reading names, like Mr. Roush or an administrator, again, socially distanced from everyone. And each graduate will be able to bring 4 family members with them. And they're going to come in their cap and gown. They're going to come in, and we're going to have to do all of the precautions that we have to do as per the governor's regulations. But we're going to have them march across. We're going to have a professional photographer there to take a picture. We have the plant board is going to film them walking across. They're going to pick up their diploma off of a table and then pose for the picture. And then their family, with the 4 family members, will be in there, will be able to see that. Then they're all going to walk out, and then we're going to bring the next person in, and we're going to do it hopefully about a 5-minute rotation so we can get everyone filmed over a 3-day period. We are then going to be filming the speeches that would normally be given at graduation. And what I'm going to talk to you board members about is if we could set up a time where each of you can also on camera film some remarks that we can add into the ceremony, so that we can have those speeches, the student speeches, the processional, and then at the very end, we're actually having all of our seniors creatively find ways to throw their caps in the air and film those individually at home. They're going to send those in to Kristen, and she is going to put those in together to play at the end of the ceremony. So it will look as much like a graduation ceremony as we can possibly do it. The plant board has agreed to film all of that, and we're going to send them all of the speeches along with their film footage. They're going to edit it together, and then the plan is to broadcast it on the date and time of the original graduation. So May 23rd at 2:00 and at 6:00.
Nice.
So we're real excited about that. I think it's going to be as nice of a ceremony as we can make it, again, keeping within the governor's recommendations for social distancing. And then there are going to be a lot of folks that are going to move on to the military and taking jobs, and they may not be able to come back for an in-person ceremony once we're able to have that. So we wanted to make sure that we had that option. And then we are planning on an in-person ceremony at each of the high schools, potentially on the new football fields. We'll just have to see when they're going to allow us to do that, where we could have a group of more than 50 people that could come. It may be late summer, early fall. Maybe late fall. We don't really know yet, and that graduation options committee will continue to work on those logistics of that. So we wanted to make sure that it wasn't an either or. It was a both that we offered to our kids. Universal excitement, I think, and acceptance, but also happiness from the folks on the committee when they understand that we're going to find a way to honor them. It may not look like it always does. We're going to try to make it look as much like it as it has in the past as we possibly can.
Now this will be started filming when?
So next Thursday, Friday, I'm sorry, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. They're going to do both high schools those 3 days. And then the goal is for us to have all of our individual videos submitted by that Friday, the 15th. Kristen can get with each of you board members to figure out a way in which we can do, if you'd like to just say a few remarks. And then we can submit everything to the plant board on that Monday, the 18th, and that would give them that whole week to edit that together. We're working with the plant board and with our 2 high schools, trying to find footage of band playing the entrance song and the processional, so that we can edit that in from previous years. I think it's going to be a little too challenging to try to get the band to individually play it and link it all up. So we're still working on some of those logistics, but I think it's coming.
What about the other 2 schools, high schools, that the alternative school and Coalfield School?
Mm-hmm. So we had a meeting at the end of the graduation committee meeting last Tuesday with the principals of both of those facilities, and what they're planning on doing is doing professional photographers, doing the pictures of them receiving their caps and gowns, and speaking with their students. They felt that was they wanted that more than doing a virtual ceremony. So we're getting a professional photographer. We're doing a location that's an outdoor location, but it's going to be really, really pretty. And so we're pretty excited about it. It's going to look a little different, but it was really what they wanted, the students at Coalfield and at the academy.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Do you all have diplomas for me to sign?
Those have been ordered, and everything is on back order right now because of all of these factories that have, slowed their production. So as soon as we get those in, we'll get them, and we'll get them to you for signature. And I think from what I've been led to believe, I've talked to both principals today. I think the caps and gown process, that's going very well. The honor cords and the sashes and things like that, there was a little bit of question whether they could get them all, but I think that they've worked that out with their distributors. The only thing that is questionable right now is the diploma covers. So we're pushing Perf Jones and all those folks to make sure that we get what we need in time for the filming. I think everything's gonna work out okay.
Okay.
Will the academy have the same diplomas as?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That was something that we saw last year that, absolutely we needed to do. So they're going to have the same type of diploma covers. It's not going to be some, paper thing that's going to be a nice cover.
That's good.
All right. Well, that sounds exciting. I'm happy about that. I guess the next item is the consent agenda.
The recommended the consent agenda is presented for your approval. The recommended motion is to approve the consent agenda as presented.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor of approving the consent agenda indicate by saying aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? Motion carries. Looks like that's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn, Madam Secretary.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Oh,
Linda.
All in favor of adjourning indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We're adjourned.
Awesome.
Thank you all.
Thank you all very much. One thing, just to keep in mind, we may need to have a special called meeting towards the end of May once we get the bids back on the excavation stuff. So maybe like May 18th, somewhere around there. I will, as soon as I know more, I will get that to you as soon as I can.